Yeah, he doesn't. He,
Later.
doesn't, he didn't seem to be looking
Yeah.
forward to it. But we are loading into our first map. It's going to be on Overgrowth to start us off. And we are in game, and I don't have the correct overlay on for some stupid reason. So we get to deal with that for the first game. So GG to me. That's interesting. That sucks. Oh well. Starting here in the top right from Guns N' Roaches in yellow, it is going to be our Zerg player Slayer.
And in the bottom left, from Team All Inspiration, it is the Pink Terran, Mr. Lando.
Can I even? Okay, at least I can zoom out. That's nice. Oh gosh. I haven't played with the stock UI in a long time. I forgot. It's
Are you
because
just using the stock one? Oh, wow.
yeah, it's because I updated the interface file, and I
Yeah.
moved the old version to a different folder, so it doesn't think it exists right now. Because I never actually updated that I was using a new one, because this is not EU serve, which is where we have been casting groups.
Yeah.
So sadly for me, this is going to look a little crappy for the first game, but I promise we will change that up and actually have the nice graphics that Tux spent some time making for us.
Yeah.
And of course the interface file that I spent way too much time figuring out how to make work. But no biggie, we are at least on in our first game here. Lando, actually, this is an interesting path with his first SCV.
I think he's just scouting for proxy hatches.
I guess.
This is a really good map for it.
We did
I
see
think.
that. Where was that? Oh, it was yesterday's
Stark.
or Thursday's group. Yeah, Stark and the M.
He did it. He did it today in the CDL Team 6 bracket, whatever the open tournament at AJ. He did it against.
Really?
Who did he get? I can't even remember who he did it against. They just reacted poorly to it again.
Oh, that's funny. He was
Yeah.
talking about. I think I saw a little bit of messages on that. I didn't get to see any of those games today, but I did see some of the results of that, and it may have been Boss Terran. I think that may have been the only Terran player that Stark actually played.
Yeah, it
I'm not
might have been
really-
against
I'm not
Boss.
really sure.
Maybe.
But this early SCV scout is going to afford Lando a little bit of extra early information, but I'm not sure how necessary that was. I mean, I guess feeling like he is the better player in this matchup, he feels okay and confident that my opponent may be cheesing, so I may as well just go ahead and scout for it rather than throwing myself off and losing to something really ridiculous early on. And he's even going for a Reaper expansion behind this back home. So he's playing extremely safe against what is a hatch first into pool and then into gas at a Slayer. So nothing super hyper aggressive coming out of our Zerg player, at least for a little while in this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think Slayer's going to want to take it to the late game. I expect some kind of bust to come out, and it's up to Lando just to scout which one it's going to be and react to it. I think. I really think that's going to be Slayer's mentality in this game. He probably also doesn't really want to show what his plans are for ZVT. I think because he's going to have to play Padula likely at some stage. I think he probably wants to hide some of his better builds for that if he can. Or that he might just not care about it and might not be thinking like that. I don't know. That's how I'd be thinking though, to be honest.
Yeah, you see it a lot where players, they're going to play the same matchup for a few times in a multiple in like a group like this, and so they don't want to show off their builds that they're really been practicing against the player that they think they may as well just lose to in the first place. So Slayer, likely, I mean, like I said, he's probably just going to play really standard, just play like whatever normal TVZ build or DZVT build that he does on ladder every single day. We did see Lando try and go for some sort of bunker rush here, but I got shut down pretty quickly, and Slayer with double queens out and some lings and also having speed on the way is going to be able to push away any sort of Reapers from Lando for quite a while, but these will sit around and be annoying for a little bit of time.
Third Reaper here as well.
Really.
He can catch one of these queens out of place. He can really... 3 Reapers can kill a queen with pretty easy micro. I like the positioning of the lings on the top though. Try and deny it as long as he can. It's going to force lings out of Slayer, which is the advantage of these 2 and 3 Reaper openings. You might not
That's a
get
lot of
many
kills
kills,
already.
but you'll force a lot of non-drone units.
You say you might not get many kills,
He's
but he's
got
already
a
gotten, what, like
lot of
6 or
lings.
7, so
Yeah.
10.
He's forced another 8 lings to be built.
And now he's
Might
going
get
to
a
go to the
queen.
queen. He's going to lose at least one of his Reapers, if not 2 of them, but should only lose the 1, which, I mean, at this point, he's done pretty well for this this little bit of a push. I mean, behind this, he's got a starport coming up actually pretty quickly here, and he does have double gas, so this could be a follow-up into Banshees or maybe just a medevac for some sort of drop. He is getting a tech lab on this barracks, as well as some Hellions right now, so I'm not really sure exactly what Lando's going to be planning to do here, but with speed finish, these Reapers aren't going to be able to do anything else. And those Reapers did see that speed was available, but without the CC actually on the low ground, this isn't really too frightening for Lando. But that's a pretty good number of Lings out here. Of course, those were forced early, and those aren't drones right now. So Slayer can walk in and try and do a little bit of a denial on the base for a bit, but Lando so insanely safe right now. He's got a CC in the wall off as well in the bunker too.
Building placement.
Yeah.
He didn't get a scout off on the back of Slayer's base, so he doesn't know if there's a baneling that's been thrown down. So he's just going to play super safe. Make sure he just doesn't die to a quick baneling bust or something silly like that. Real smart play out of him.
Yeah, Lando being cheeky, just jumping up and down with his Reavers back into the bunker. He kills a few more Lings. The Hellions helping out there as well. And we do have Cloak Banshee on the way. This hasn't been scouted out by Slayer just yet, so he doesn't have any Spore Callers coming right now. All he has are a bunch of Queens. He doesn't have the Lair on the way either. He does have a third hatchery coming up, but without any sort of detection, look like it's going to be coming out very quickly. This could be really painful, especially considering the fact we do have an armory on the way as well for Mr. Lando. I'm pretty sure he likes to play mech some, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does play mech some. He definitely plays mech in TVT. I know that. I've played him a few times in TVT. I haven't seen enough of his TVZ though to know for sure if he does just exclusively mech or if he does exclusively bio. I know he's capable of playing mech though.
Yeah,
so.
in the semifinals of last CTL season, Lando played 1 HP for the win from CT6, who's actually in the round of 16 of the CSL already. He played mech against him, and he was actually streaming the game at the same time, and he was listening to... What was he listening to? He was listening to music from The Lion King. That's all I remember. But he was playing mech against the Zerg player, so it is something he can do. I mean, this push is here. There are some roaches out with this Banshee already going to town. Going to get one Queen kill, probably get another one as well. And the third hatchery here for Slayer is going to go down to all these Hellbats. The Banshee's still doing a lot of work. It's already got 2 kills on. It's going to get a third Queen here in just a second. And with nothing but Lings and Roaches to defend this push, there is a Spore Caller in the natural base over here for Slayer, so you will be able to fend off that Banshee eventually. But Lings, such a small number of Roaches trying to deal with these Hellbats is not working out too well, and the Banshee helping out as well. It's a lot of damage here already.
Second one is on the way here. There's no Spore in between the second and the third either. The Banshee can dance around this easy Spore here. Help with these Roaches. He's done a lot of damage. He's up on workers, 7 already.
Yeah, and a third command center pops down here for Lando. He's just going to keep increasing his lead. Right now, Slayer does have a lead in the supply count. It's kind of thanks to a lot of things, but he has forced Slayer into a really defensive position that has forced out a lot of units that aren't really going to be able to push across the map easily and do a ton of damage, especially with these Banshees here. The Banshees for Lando can just sit in the middle of the map if they want to and just start picking off Roaches if they were to try to walk across the map. And so he would lose most of those Roaches as they were moving across the map, which would be really, really troublesome for a Zerg player. And right now, Lando just using the Banshees actually to clear creep even. That's how confident he is in his current position.
Yeah, Slayer's got a lair, and he's got these Roaches, and he's getting +1 melee as well with Hydra. That doesn't make sense to me. That might be a mistake. He's getting a Hydra Den as well. I'm not entirely sure. I think Slayer wants to be in this position. It's going to be real hard for him to take a third. His Banshees can kind of just camp and stop any move out from Slayer. Lando's in a pretty good spot. He's down on army supply at the moment, but it's army supply and Roaches against Banshees. And he's got a 4th Banshee on the way, rallied out to his front door. He's getting his production up. He's almost got Stim completed. 1-1's on the way. In a pretty good spot now.
Pretty decent sized lead here for Lando. These 4 Banshees. I mean, there is a Spore Caller, it's nice, but how much shoots upside the Spore Caller? So long as Lando doesn't dance into the Spore Caller itself, he's going to do a ton of damage here. Microing back to 1 hurt Banshee. Going after the Queens as best as he can. These Queens do have a couple of transfuses available, but one of them has gone down. The second one about to go down as well. And once that's down, there's nothing left. 1 Banshee does die. There are a few Hydras here actually to pick these off with the Overseer helping out. So these Banshees should get picked or pushed away, but they're going to try to actually go into the natural base and get some worker kills done now. Even just killing the Queens is a pretty big pickup here for Lando.
Yeah, he's quite safe. He might even start building tanks, to be honest. Yeah, there's a tank started now already. If he gets those 2 or 3 tanks, gets his bio count up, he should be able to move across the map and kill Slayer. He's still stuck on 2 bases. Still, he really needs to take a third. He's got 1 rallied here. There is a Banshee to defend it. Hydras take it down though, which is nice. Banshee just chilling out in the middle of the map as well, defending, just spotting for any kind of push coming across. It's really well played from Lando, and just a real safe play as well. And he hasn't really taken any risks with this play.
No, he's got a really massive worker count leader now. He's up 11 workers. He doesn't have his third base planted anywhere just yet. He doesn't want to try and do that. And he's feeling so... he just realizes he just needs to defend. That's all he really needs to do right now. He's so far ahead in economy and tech, honestly, that he's not going to have to deal with too much that's really, really frightening coming from Slayer. Banshee is still being annoying over at the third base. Will get pushed away by the handful of hydras that Slayer has, but still just such an annoyance. And the third base is moving over now for Lando, and he's going to start putting himself in a position to actually defend the third base even. He's going to be throwing down a bunch of bunkers over here, so just despite the push that is moving across the map right now for Slayer, Lando should be okay. He's got 1 tank setup, 2 tanks set up actually, and decent positions. And it's going to be up to Slayer to see how much damage he can actually get done. He's going to have +1/+1 finishing out, but it's still a pretty long ways away, and by the time that finishes, these bunkers should be ready, unless he attacks before the 1/1 is actually finished.
Yeah. I don't see him building too many more drones in this game. I think he might just try and rally as much Lings and Banelings as possible, try and bust down this base, but he's really far behind now. Lando has a massive supply lead for this stage of the game. He's got a 15 supply lead in workers, and to go along with these mules. Usually the Terran can be about 10 workers down at this stage and be kind of even on economy with the power of mules.
There was actually a Banshee in the third base that picked up 6 more worker kills, forced out a couple more Spore Callers, and forced Slayer's army to come back and defend. So there just plain wasn't anything over there. At this point of the game, we're 16.5 minutes in. Slayer still hasn't been able to actually saturate his third base. He's still trying to make his economy actually something that's worthwhile. Now he's starting to make a bunch of Banelings, see if he can find a way to bust in here. But tanks, there's 3 tanks set up in a really, really nice spot, and all of these bunkers, as well as a wall off with depots. Actually, it's not even really a full wall necessarily, but tanks is absolutely everywhere helping defend. There's even a drop in the main base here, taking out, well, it's going to be taking out gas geyser at the moment, but once again, forcing the army to come back to try and defend. Slayer is just so slow on the map. I'm not even sure if he doesn't have Hydra speed just yet, I don't think. Yeah, he does. No, he doesn't. So this is really difficult for him to defend. He's actually going to lose his pool at the very least, and probably, yeah, Lando picking up, going to get on out of there, picking up another 4 worker kills in this drop. So, I mean, workers killed so far in this game. We have 10 for Lando, and just nothing has really touched Lando in this game just yet.
I don't think Slayer's really stepped across the other side of the map, to be honest. It's very one way. He's got this other army out front of Slayer's third, cleaning up creep now as well. A lot of map control in favour of Lando. Might even scan here and kill the active. No, he won't. He's going to go home. It's fair enough. Another drop going into the main. Going to try and pick up some more workers. Gets an overlord for his troubles. I'm going to get this gas geyser again, which is nice. Really just abusing the Roach Hydra. There's no spy at all, so no air units even remotely close for Slayer here.
Yeah, and now Lando is he's pretty much maxed out. He's 6 supply from being maxed out, and that's going to be coming shortly. And he's pushing across the map. He's got a very, very large army right now, and he's still scanning in front of himself. He doesn't realize he doesn't really need to attack, I suppose, but he kind of needs to, because the longer he waits, the more time he's going to give Slayer to actually pick up some sort of army. But he is going to cordon off 2 of his medevacs and push those away for a drop, I suppose. Well, one of them is rolling on back, however. Medevac, go do your job. 2 medevacs full of units just kind of waiting to actually start doing something. There they go. They are flying off now, so those are going to be a drop, and there's still this massive army that's much bigger than what Slayer has out on the map. That's going to be pushing forward here. Tanks sieging up as well. It's going to be so difficult for Slayer to even actually engage into. He's got a lot of Banelings, however, but off a creep, there's not really much they can do. Pretty good connections there. The tanks are kind of exposed, but Slayer not really pouncing on that. Well, he is going to kill this entire army, but there are 2 medevacs rolling onto the main base. There isn't a whole lot back home right now, actually, for Lando, so Slayer taking a really good engagement there. He may lose a good portion of his main tech in the main, as well as his natural is going to be under fire eventually once these units do move on in. The drop is there and it is real, but it does mean that there's not much back home right now. The wall is also wide open here in the natural base. So much is streaming in for Slayer. Is actually doing pretty well against this, but again, I think just the reinforcements eventually will be able to clean this up for Lando. And on the other side, More and more workers falling here for Slayer. His main hatchery is about to go down as well. The tank is still happily shelling away over there. Lando's natural has been overrun. He has had to lift that off, but with the tank on the high ground now, Slayer is forced to retreat and try and go home and actually defend with his lair under fire. 3-3 finishing now. Lando 50 supply up. Should be okay against this thing. There we go. GG from Slayer here in game number 1.
Yeah, GG. It was Slayer took a really good fight. He took the best fight he possibly could in the middle of the map there. Yeah. And he just didn't have enough to really hold back that drop, that 2 medevac drop with the tank in it. If he could have held that and then taken the same fight, he would have been in a pretty good spot. I mean, Lando's 3-3 was on the way. But, all in all, good game from Lando. Just played nice and safe and standard. Didn't really take any risks or anything like that. And Slayer tried to go at him with a macro game, playing Roach Hydra, but the weakness of Roach Hydra are drops, and Lando really abused that.
If you're not able to get up your economy early enough to have a good chunk of your Roach Hydra to split off and play defense, if you're not going to have that air army. And given that Slayer went for that early melee upgrade, I don't think he really wanted to even go for Roach Hydra. He's just kind of forced into it, maybe thinking that Lando was actually going to be playing mech, given what he saw, but it wasn't the case. And Lando, despite it was a really good engagement by Slayer there in the middle of the map, but despite that, he just didn't have enough to actually push through. So we are going to get into game 2, which is going to be on Deadwing, actually. It's like Lando needs a quick second for an AFK, and we will get into that. But yeah, that's the first game here. So Lando is up 1-0. This is match 1 of, well, 5 matches. Our next match is going to be Aquila versus Padula. It'll be coming up after these two finish out their first series, and then we will have the winners match after that, and then the losers match, and then our final match of the day to decide who will move on to the round of 16 here at the CSL. Once again, I am TB Ham. With me is Kachi. I do thank you for watching, and if you are enjoying, please do give us a follow, because I do have ideas on the horizon that I would like to have plausible, which really helps to have a good follower count. So if you aren't already followed, please do. I'll just leave it at that.
Hashtag soon.
Hashtag hopefully, not even soon, just hopefully, because I know how difficult it is. Partnership is darn near impossible on Twitch without a massive following, but there are cases where they can, if you are doing something impressive, they will find a way to help out. So Lando is back, Slayer ready. We will get into game number 2 here.
On Deadwing.
On Deadwing. It's a big old map.
It's an interesting map. Some Zergs don't like it. I don't know why. Like, when I play Zerg, I love it. I don't know about you. I really like the map. It's easy full bases, it's wide open, and taking your 5th can be hard, but...
I think if he gets across on this map, it'll be a lot better for him. Depending on what he wants to play. If he wants to play Roach Hydra again, he's definitely going to want to have those closer positions, but I don't know, it's a possibility. I like, as a Zerg player, if you have a bigger map, it can be a lot nicer. But there are maps like Vonnie Research that are extremely nice for a Zerg player, having those 2 pathways that you just completely overrun with creeps so quickly. That was one thing out of Slayer. He started off with a lot of creep spread, but getting all of his queens sniped off, he wasn't able to continue that production on that too well. So we'll have to see if he's able to do it better in this game. And we are started. And our first player spawning in the top left from All Inspiration, pausing, introducing him anyway. It's Mr. Lando. So we can go ahead and introduce our next player too.
Ah, yeah, spawning in the bottom, completely frozen for the moment. It is Guns N' Roses Slayer.
We had to tie it off a little bit better than he did. It was leaking. Yeah. It's plausible. I think game sound may be a little bit low as well. Once again, switching server to server and not having the same settings follow you around is really annoying. I did change the interface at least, so I know you hate mix, so I won't do it. So maybe that means Lando's going to do something fun here, but we'll see.
Entertain us, Lando. Entertain us. Yeah. Slayer, he easily gets on tilt. He doesn't like this game sometimes. He hates the map pool currently. He hates mech against Terran. Like, hates mech against Zerg.
It can be extremely difficult to play against. I mean, especially if you're not comfortable with it in the first place, it just feels so unwinnable.
Yeah, it's just like forever an uphill battle if you like don't feel comfortable against it. It's like no matter what you do, it doesn't work. And like you get people telling, "No, just do this," and you try it and you just lose. And it's like, oh, that's so frustrating.
Yeah. We do see the same builds coming out of both players. You're going to see a Hatch first. Coming from Slayer, we do have a Reaper expansion coming from Lando. So despite the larger map and the cross positions as well, obviously they don't know that just yet, but despite all that, Lando is not going to go CFC first or anything like that. I think Slayer could still try and go something insane like 3 Hatch before pool, which could be fun on this map. He could defend if he defends easily enough, but the problem being that Lando going for that Reaper, he went for 3 in the last game, and it did a pretty good amount of damage. I want to say, 8 lanes at least got killed off by those Reapers?
Yeah.
So that was a really nice start that probably put Slayer on tilt a little bit early in the game.
He isn't going 3 hatch though. Pulling into gas. Pretty safe and standard play out of Slayer so far. A single Reaper so far from Lando. We'll see how many he builds. A lot of Terrans are building 2 or 3 now. I like building 2, personally. 2 is my number.
Yeah, it can be awkward no matter what you do, especially if you do it all the time. Given that Lando is going for an earlier expansion in this game, he did actually wall off fully in the first game with an extra depot. He probably maybe won't go for the 3rd Reaper, and of course, as I said, he is going to go ahead and throw down that reactor on the barracks, so sincerely doubt we'll see 3 Reapers in this game. He could still do that, but I imagine he's going to want to get to his factory somewhat soon at least, rather than using his next 100 gas on Reapers. This could be nice because he could go out and catch some Overlords in the middle of the map with some Marines early on if he does decide to do that. But he could also, he tried putting down a bunker in the first game. I'm curious if he's going to try and do that again, getting into the main base here with this SCV, but there's already some Lings out. There's already going to be a Queen out here in just a little bit, and speed is actually already on the way as well for Slayers, so he's going to be nice and defended against what is coming his way. With the reactor finishing up, is it going to be Marines? Is it going to be a couple more Reapers?
I think it'd be Marines. I'd be surprised if it's Reapers. I'd be very surprised.
Would be the meta. Would be the so meta play, but it is going to be a couple Marines out here first. Maybe switch that over into some Hellions as soon as those Marines do finish up and that factory finishes up as well. And expect to see the same sort of setup here out of Lando. He's going to get there just a little bit of a different way in this second game.
He's probably going to get a faster 3rd CC in this game. No second gas taken yet, which is usually the key that he's going to go. Banshees are Hellbats. See these Lings across the map. If they can get, so close.
That's so annoying when you send Lings over like that. They were on A move. They had the SCV down to just a couple more hits. They could have killed it, but just the AI bugs out and doesn't follow an SCV once it moves when it's building. So he could have stopped that SCV or that building from completing for a little bit of time. Lando even thought it was going to die, so he actually sent another SCV down to go help build it, but didn't quite catch that off, so he will keep that alive for now. And look like we're going to have Banshees once again as the follow-up here for Lando, and he's going to go for that armory again. To wait and see, but it is definitely a distinct possibility. It did pretty well for him in that first game. Maybe we'll to see if Slayer's able to scout this out a little bit better here in game number 2.
Yeah. Slayer, Starport switching over onto the tech lab. He's going to start getting Banshees, probably Cloak as well. I think. I wonder if Lando will go mech just to mess with Slayer a bit.
Slayer even gets the Overlord speed. I completely missed he was getting that upgrade, but he does have the Ferrari Overlords already here in this game, so he's not going to be blind to anything. He's going to get in with this Overlord. He's going to see exactly what's going on, and then he's going to get out. So he's going to save this Overlord's life. I want to say I saw Slayer do this in the qualifier when he was playing maybe Padula or Lumia. So it's a nice opener if you're concerned about scouting. He's definitely seeing everything right now. He's going to get away with whatever he whatever he wants to get away with. Once he decides actually, attack this Overlord, it can get away pretty easily, yeah. He does know it's coming, so he can start putting down some Spore Collars eventually, but we do have 9 Roaches actually in production already. They're probably just for defense. There are 4 Hellions out on the map, across the map even. No 3rd Command Center just yet. from Mr. Lando. I'm hoping to see that relatively soon. Otherwise, he needs to throw down some sort of tech so he can actually push across the map. Because right now he just has a pretty, he's got a nice defensive position, wall off up front, some Hellions and a Banshee on the map right now. It's about to have Cloak. But with these roaches here, Slayer shouldn't take near the damage he took in game number 1.
No, his spore crawler position. Not sorry. His spore crawler positioning is so much better as well. He's got one in all the bases and one kind of out the front as well to defend between the natural and the third. He might lose a drone or two here, but I don't think he's going to take that game critical damage like he did last game. Banshees aren't going to be able to dance around for ages and get 9-10 kills apiece. Slayer looking much more comfortable in this game so far. He's got a drone lead ever so slightly. He's going to double Evo. I think those roaches are probably just for defense. He's getting his lair now as well. See if he wants to stick on this Roach Hydra or go into a more standard Ling Baneling Muta composition.
It's kind of a matter of time before we see exactly what he does do. I assume once these Evos finish up and he starts going to upgrades, we'll see what he's planning to do. He did add on one more Roach. He's going to be up to 10 now. So maybe he is going to go going for Roaches. So yeah, 8 more Roaches now. So expecting that to be some upgrades for those relatively soon. I mean, there isn't really much out here to defend for Orlando if he does push across the map, and with these extra rocks here. But I mean, there's 3 Banshees on the map. We do have a Baneling that's thrown down here for Slayer, so maybe he's going to try and go for something like Bane speed and Roach speed, and just try to bust with that. But still a little ways. That'll be a little ways off. We do have +1 attack and Carapace upgrade. Actually, both +1 attacks coming here for Slayer. So that's an interesting start. He does kill all the Hellions there, which is a really nice pickup here for Slayer.
We're going to try and push this creep spread out. Banshees are shooting the Roaches, which don't shoot up, unfortunately. Needs to reposition this Spore Crawler. Trying to get his Queens involved. The Banshees do Cloak. Might be able to try and pick off a Queen. They're targeting the Roaches though. There he goes. Starting to target the Queens. Really delaying Slayer's creep spread quite a lot. It's 11 minutes and he really only has it just outside his third base. You really like this to be starting to push towards the center of the map now.
Yeah,
especially if he's going to stay on
He does have a good number of Roach's Queens out already to help spray creep, but even as soon as he's throwing down creep tumors, Lando pops in with his Banshees, kills off the only active tumor, kills off 2 or 3 tumors that Slayer was trying to place down. So extremely annoying for Slayer, trying to get any sort of map presence with the creep spread. Should be able to push outside of his own third base, because right now he can't really move anywhere just because of these Banshees. Slayer is starting to put he does have a Spore Caller up out front. Just probably needs to make an Overseer and push it out with the Queens, and then finally get rid of this Banshee harass that once again, despite the better setup here for Slayer, is doing a lot of damage, at least being extremely annoying, and maybe even picking off a couple more creep tumors. Does pick off 1 more creep tumor, but Lando will escape with 1 more of his Banshees, still just somehow staying alive. It's kind of like a Reaper at this point.
Yeah, Banshee's a good unit. Very good unit. Lando is starting to get this third saturated. He has a couple of tanks here as well to defend against the Roaches. But Slayer is going into Lings and Banelings now. He's got a Spire planted as well, which he didn't even get to last game. He was completely Spireless. So you feel much more confident. He's only a little bit down on supply, 3 at the moment. And it's mostly in workers.
It's actually a really, really powerful bust that's going to be coming out of Slayer here. He's got +1/+1 attack on both sides, melee and ranged finished. He's got Bane Speed finished. He's going to have Roach Speed here in just a second, so Slayer's going to probably turn a lot of these Lings into Banelings, then try and bust. And 1 Medvac drop is coming out here for Lando. So that's going to be across the map, so he's not going to have all of his units. He doesn't have that much bio left over here. They do have +1/+1, so that's nice for them, but still, it's a really, really large force for Slayer. I think he may have actually seen this drop at some point, or just kind of realized that is a possibility. He is pushing back, actually, so he's not actually going to bust. He's just making 16 Banes back home for some reason, rather than out front at the natural, or at the third base of Lando. Drop does come in at the 4th base, but that's not going to be really doing anything but at least being an annoyance. And eventually we will see. Well, actually, the drop's just going to get cleaned up. So I'm not really paying attention as Lando, so we'll have to push this into the main base. There are a few Banelings here. Should be able to clean this up. The 1 Marauder, the Beast Marauder remains.
So strong.
What was that, like 5 Banelings?
Either. That's such a long way to go.
This Marauder is just taking so much damage right now. And it does eventually die off, but there is another drop that was loaded up and queued up. It's a bunch of Marines, so those are going to be able to do a lot more damage to the worker line once they do come into the main base, which I imagine is where they're going to go. But Slayer does have some Overlords spread out to the right side of his base, so he will get a little bit of a warning, but not too much. The Spire has finished up here for Lando. He does have a few, or not for Lando, for Slayer. He does have a few mutas on the map, but not really enough to really be just flying around trying to deny drops at this point. But it will be a nice boon to his defense at this point of the game, and still, this is a really, really scary army that is out here on the map here for Slayer. But Lando is nice and defended, but he is getting a little aggressive on the map, and if he gets too far and isn't paying attention, he could lose his entire army like we saw in the first game.
Yeah, Slayer's getting a second infestation pit as well. Bit of a mistake out of him there. He's getting +1 upgrade for the mutas. A lot of Bailings taking a fight off creep, which is less than ideal. Lando lifts up though. There is a lot of Zerg units here. Slayer can kill off a few of these medevacs. He has a supply lead. He's even on army. He's a little bit down on upgrades though, but if he can take a really good fight with Banelings, these tanks are really well positioned though. It's going to be real hard for him to bust up there through that ramp.
The drop did come down to the 4th base of Slayers, and it's doing a little bit of damage. He killed off 8 drones over there. At the same time, he's still safe back home. A couple of those medevacs were still out. One of them was actually completely full of units as well. A couple of mutas were on a move back home, and now they're getting taken out. Another drop in the 3rd base of Lando, or of Slayer. Doing a lot of damage here. Actually, mutas were fighting that for a little bit of time, so he loses a lot more of his mutas. And he's lost 3 already, which is pretty upsetting for the Zerg player. He's got 5 more about to finish. They're going to join the 7 that are already out, but any muta you lose at this point is a muta you don't want to be losing. And he lost his 4th base as well. He completely lost that hatchery. And the drops still exist on both sides, so Lando's just hopping back and forth, being super annoying with all these drops. He's got 3-3 on the way as well, so putting himself in a really nice position already.
Yeah, Slayer's not really dealing with these drops too well at the moment. He's losing straight drones. He has picked up this one down the little secret alley, but the one at the 4th is still attacking away. Mutas are flying into Lando's 4th. A little bit undefended here. He might be able to kill up these Marines and get a few SCV kills. A little bit hesitant in what he wants to do. A couple of Marines do push these mutas away. He's trying to buy time for his army supply to catch up. Queen's pick up a medevac is just nice.
These drops are still being so annoying. And actually, Lando he's going to the natural here with his drop. At the same time, he's got most of his main army on the creep of Slayer, actually scanning and pre-splitting and doing a ton of damage over there. There isn't much army actually left over that's out on the map right now. A lot of it was sit back trying to defend drops. He's going to push in now to this army, but with the pre-split, he should take a decent engagement. There's really not much Terran army over here. That's a ton of Zerg. A couple of Widowmine shots do go off, but not exactly the best of Widowmine shots. All of these medevacs are in pretty poor position. A lot of these mutas could swing over there and probably kill off a few of those at least if Lando isn't able to actually get another boost. But with another boost coming up here in a second, he should be able to get away from this. But still, it was a lot of damage done to Lando. Once again, losing most of his army out on the map, being a little bit careless with it. Now all of his medevacs are out in the middle of nowhere, and Slayer is knocking on his doorstep right now, pushing into this 4th base, trying to at least. A couple of tanks here doing a lot of damage, and even the mutas are coming forward, trying to attack Marines instead of the tanks themselves. Both players just trading armies pretty inefficiently at this moment.
Yeah, there wasn't much splash damage for Lando, and these tanks really helped out a lot. A lot of turrets going down. 3-3 completed halfway through the fight as well. I think Lando stabilized a bit there. Not the best fight for Slayer. He's taking a good fight in the middle of the map, but moving across the map and trying to break Lando there, I'm not sure was the best choice. Didn't really take the most ideal fight off creep there.
Not necessarily. He flew all of his mutas into the Marines.
And the turrets
into the turrets as well, and he could have used those mutas to focus down the tanks. Instead, he had a bunch of Banes that actually that exploded on tanks rather than actually on the bioforces. And now there isn't a ton left over here for Slayer. He does have a few Banelings. He's got 15 sitting here on waiting, but not really many Lings to help reinforce this army. And I mean, Lando, with a small force, and this is actually a ton of medevacs compared to how little bio he has, and all of the mines as well, with a drop coming in eventually from the top side, looking to, once again, just try to pull, Widowmine shots. Do a lot of friendly fire there, but do kill off a good chunk of units And with the follow-up Bioforce of Lando, should be able to take out the rest of the Zerg army here. So despite not having really much there, Slayer is going to head and have to tap out. So Lando will move on from our first match. He will move on to the winner's match. So GG to him. Slayer will fall down to the loser's match here, which will be in a bit. Just really not enough for Slayer at that point.
Yeah, it was a good game though. Like he stayed with him for quite a long time, and he took good engagements in both games out on the map. It was just the follow-up that was kind of lacking for Slayer. It was just that little bit of difference between the players. Allowed Lando to probably remax out a bit quicker, and he had 3-3. It's just that little bit ahead. But Slayer took some really good fights in that game. Gave himself the best chance he could, really. And I kind of liked that he didn't just try and cheese Lando out as well. Like there's two schools of thought when you play a higher player. Like you can just try and cheese him out because that's your only chance, or you can try and play a macro game and learn from the experience and try and improve yourself to get better, I guess.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, it wasn't like he was completely run over in either of those games.
No,
the first game
was
pretty rough, but he still took a really nice engagement and really made it difficult for Orlando. And that second game was extremely close for pretty much the entire game there. So, despite Lando, as we were saying, being probably the massive favorite for this group, Slayer with a really nice showing there, looking like he is trying to make a name for himself as at least the second place finisher here in this group.